Hello everyone, I'm Rishi Persad and welcome back to Racing Weekly, a podcast and YouTube show brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. As we prepare for Christmas, I'm joined by two Steves, Steve Ryder and Steve Mellish alongside me to look ahead to the racing coming up this week, look ahead to the best of the Christmas action and of course look back on what we've just seen last week. Steve Mellish, I'll start with you first of all and I'll kick off straight away with a message we had from one of our viewers, Owen Johnson, because normally this is the time where I say, what do you think of the season so far? But he wants to be more specific. The horse that has impressed you the most this jump season so far?
And we were talking in terms of talking to you this beforehand. We mean taking that literally, what you've been most improved. Nothing to do with betting, to do with that's how I've taken it. Well, it'd be a toss-up really. It's two novice chasers. I thought Final Demand's debut was just about perfect for a chasing debutant. Second's got beats in, so I'm sure you can poke holes in the form. I thought his jumping was straight, true, really good. He looked a chaser last year when the novice hurdler. I think he's going to take really high rank. And I'm a fully paid up fan of Lulamba. Have been really from seeing him win at Kempton as a novice hurdler. And I thought a few people crabbed him after Exeter. I thought a bit unfairly. It was just it was an odd race with the fences removed. But I thought the second half of the race in particular, he was awesome at Sandown. And he's beat some good horses in a terrific time, and his jumping got better and better. I thought he was, I think he's a really high-class horse. It's a good division. So at the moment, the Arkle's almost potentially the most interesting race at the Cheltenham Festival. But he'd be top of my list for that.
Yeah, he created a huge impression both at Exeter, which was good, but even better at Sandown. We always talk about the juncture we're at of the year, and this, for a lot of people, is such an exciting time. We've got good racing this weekend, but we've also got then the build-up to perhaps some of the best racing of the year.
It is that Christmas period where you've just got Grade 1s in the UK, over in Ireland, and it's a bit difficult recording probably today where we haven't got the final fields. I mean, we haven't even got entries for the Christmas hurdle at Kempton. But yeah, you just go through the names of the horses that you're going to see over that Christmas period. The likes of Final Demand now going into graded company in novice chases.
Yep.
You've got the King George, which I think is one of the most open renewals in recent years. And yeah, I can't wait.
All right. But we're going to start this episode of Racing Weekly with a brief look back at what we've seen in the last week. We'll start our racing recap with a two-day meeting at Cheltenham, and there was an impressive start again. Visually, Fortune de Mer winning on Friday continues this fabulous season for both the horse, for the Skeltons. What did you make of that performance, Steve?
Well, we've been talking, Steve and I were talking before. It's just a great sight besides anything else. I love seeing it. I mean, you've got a jockey oozing confidence, but I don't know, 8th place running down to the last, but equally an inevitability that he jumps last. He's gonna nearly win. I love that sight. It reminded me of Sea Pigeon's champion hurdle. It's just a great sight, and so that was awesome. How much he's keeping, and it's his guesswork. There is an assumption he's got tons in hand, and I'm not sure that's true or not true. I mean, time will tell. But it was a really great spectacle.
They've made no secret, as Steve has alluded to, that the county hurdle is the aim for this horse. I think general prices are around 12 to 1. But the season Fortune de Mer's having makes it's going to be hard to win the county as you're doing what you're doing so far.
Yeah, the handicap has given him £7 this morning up to 134. And you can see why. It's very much this whole season is around handicapper versus Skelton. It is fascinating to see how much he does have in hand. I thought the new course suits him perfectly. That long run to the last. It made me laugh. Stuart Machin in commentary on Racing TV, approaching the last, says, there are lots in with a chance approaching the last. Well, my O was only on one horse, and I think many people's was on Fortune de Mer. And when he did get there, Harry Skelton did have to get relatively vigorous for him to stay in front. And he is going to be one of these in-running lays, I think, because he is going to take your eye throughout that race. It's going to be interesting where they go next. They are going to have to run in one more time to get those 5 runs in prior to the county hurdle. If it was mine, I'd go to the old Betfair hurdle. I think that would suit perfectly. I think it's quite a statement of intent if he doesn't go there, given the amount of prize money that's there,
Yeah.
and that is the main aim of the Skeletons this year. Yes, the new course will suit him well, but I think Newbury would suit him as well. Big, long straight, and you can cover him up until approaching the last.
Yeah.
But like Steve said, it's just brilliant to watch.
Yeah, very exciting watching Fortune de Mer strutting his stuff. The Turners handicap chase also took place last Friday at Cheltenham. We saw the return to action of L'Empresse, who ran on strongly to the line but blazed the way. Wins for the Danny and Mags Mullins. And there were a couple of performances in behind, I think, that I'll be taking note of as well, Steve.
Yeah, I really liked the interview with Lydia Hislop afterwards with Charlie Deutsch, because it was a minute and a half of him just getting everything off his chest and what went wrong throughout the race and why he did this, and you could tell how frustrated he was by that reappearance, but he was fairly happy with how L'Empresse ended that, and he had to then basically switch out in order to get room. And Charlie Deutsch, I love watching him over a fence. He just gives horses time and runs on at the finish. We'll touch on one of the novice chases that he won on later, or it might have been earlier on the card, to be fair, at that stage. But yeah, Danny Mullins had to do similar, to be fair. This was a novice. I think it was his 5th run over fences as well, and he changed positions a few times during the race, and it was only when he was pulled wide that he actually started to make headway. And yeah, it was eye-catching, the campaign that this horse has been given.
Very
2 mile 1, 2 mile 2, up to mile in trip here, and if he was mine, he's a novice, National Hunt Chase would be the one for me at the festival for him.
I've written the same comments, and I think that's I know some people do have problem. I think that's a legitimate way to beat the handicapper. I like it on the flat, I like at the jumps. I mean, you know, it's there. You can all make your own assumptions. You might be wrong, but plenty of people thought if for the horse, what he's shown at 2 miles, he was capable of much more. Yeah. Now he's running a trip in keeping with his breeding and run style, and so it proved. I like that. I think that's actually clever, rather than, you know, downright cheating, if you know what I mean, stopping them. There's no. So I was very impressed with him.
Running on your merits over the wrong trip.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah, exactly,
That's fine. You know, you can see it. You can make your own judgment. So yeah, and I agree with the long-term target that Steve mentioned. It looks perfect, doesn't it? National Hunt Chase. L'Empresse, it was a tremendous first run back. Yeah, I mean, the horse in the mid-160s. It's great to see him running a handicap, and he performed fabulously.
Yeah, I'll still give a mention to the Doyen-Chief. I thought he ran really well. It's clear to me now, watching that race, that 3 miles 2 is too far, dropping back in trip. But I actually watched the race again last night, and I was thinking, how did he not get placed?
Yeah.
You know, coming to the last, you still think is a chance of him going and maybe trying to win it, but he actually gets very tired on that run to the
Where
line.
would you go? The old Racing Post Chase, something like that?
Yeah.
3 mile
at Kempton, yeah.
Flat 3 miles might suit him, mightn't it?
I would just say, with regards to L'Empresse, obviously he had a ridiculously good record fresh.
He did.
And he would have caught everyone's eye with how he ran. I would be wary of him being over bet next time, particularly with if Venetia Williams hits a real purple patch of form, which I think we're on the cusp of coming. Yes. I think he'll be over bet next time, and just remember how well he runs fresh.
And the cusp is a good word, because I think he is one of those twilight horses, really. Where do you go with him? 165, he's not going to move from, or he's going to move very little. So it's a tough ask in big handicaps. And is he quite good enough to win the top races it will go for? Possibly not. It's a difficult horse to place.
Yeah, I do think he also needs to go left-handed as well, because you remember Ascot last time as well, like right-handed doesn't suit him.
Yeah, agreed. Where, I don't know.
No.
He might go back for the Cotswold Chase.
Is he a national horse down the line?
Depends on ground. I think he needs soft ground.
That's the plan, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but at least, I mean, these days, that sort of mark is not a thing that frightens you.
No.
I think he'd stay the trip, and that would be, you know, I'd think about that. Yeah. You're right, ground, same with, you know, Mr. Van Gogh, horse like that, all horses were being mentioned. A lot of horses do need a wet spring.
Well, Steve, to my left, just talking about Venetia Williams, on the cusp of some very good form. Gavin Cromwell has also emerged from a quiet spell for the stable, winners-wise, Steve, with a win in the cross-country chase, courtesy of Final Orders. And by the way, props to Steve again for tipping up Jarive de l'Est earlier in the week when he was a decent price, and he was obviously very well backed on the day.
You're a very mischievous presenter, Rishi. You know you're going to get reaction, because I'm not the biggest fan of cross countries, as you know.
Got that wrong.
But you know, it's my main thought is I thought it's a further proof of what a excellent rider at the track Keith Donoghue is, who's got a fantastic record round there. I do think it's a place that takes a note. And the actual events leave me cold. I don't look at them very much, and You know, whether they jump the cheese wedge or the bacon bat or whatever it is they're doing.
Which one would you prefer, the bacon bath?
Oh, definitely. I wouldn't jump it. I'd sit there and wait with my cup of tea, which is what I tend to do when I'm at the races. I will always go and get a cup of tea during the cross country. But I do understand other people liking it. Each to their own. It's just not something that interests me at all.
If you had a breakfast sandwich to choose,
Well, good point.
sausage, bacon,
Muesli,
egg. Oh, come
touch
on.
of lettuce.
Would you have sausage or bacon or egg? Sausage and egg, bacon and egg.
This is all in one
bacon,
bag,
sausage. Or what would your combo be?
There wouldn't be a combo. I'd have a bacon bat out of those. Your choice. Yeah.
Would you have?
I'd have all three, but I'd want my sausages cut in half.
Yes.
Because,
Okay.
I feel,
Oh, entirely. What a perfect choice.
There you go.
He
There you
wins.
go. And
Congratulations.
you both like cross country,
There you
so
go.
We both
maybe
like-
there's a correlation between
I'm
your
so
choice
confused.
of
I
breakfast.
thought you loved the cross country.
No, you
I'm not
didn't,
sure I do
Rich.
like the cross country anymore. Jarive de Les 7-1 into 7-4. The year before, I'd napped Isio Madrique, who only got to, I think, the third fence, who ran better in the race this year. I wouldn't give up on Jarive de Les, to be fair. I thought experience showed there, particularly both jockey and horse. Final orders had 68 runs. Jarive de Les had 20. Obviously, he was making debut for Emmett Mullins and just made crucial mistakes at the wrong time, particularly at hurdles and fences prior to a bend coming up. I think Donamila lost his stirrups when there was a sharp left after a turn, and that would have lost him 5, 6, 7 lengths. Jump index on that was 6.6, which is one of the lowest in the field. And I do think there are reasons to suggest, particularly the fact that it is a handicap now in March, that he will come forward from that run and is probably a big player. I think Keith Donoghue is important to these horses over the cross country. I imagine he'll stay loyal to Stumptown rather than final orders. They just know exactly the course. If you look throughout the race, Keith Donoghue is left when there's a left turn and right when there's a right turn. That sounds really basic, but you do save that ground. I remember Jonathan Pluganu when he rode Easy's Land. I think Ruby did some analysis afterwards, and it was that. They switch in behind horses and they're always in the right position to take the shortest course.
I'll therefore, having put you on the block first for the cross-country chase, I'll try and make up for it by letting you have first go at the December Gold Cup analysis and whether or not Glengouly and Sean Bowen got a soft lead. Did Sean Bowen ride that race better than everybody else? Was it as simple as that? Or was Glengouly the fair winner of it?
I think all those things can be true in a sense. I think he got it dead right. The overall time tells you they didn't go that quick. He did get a soft lead, definitely, but he still utilised it really well. And the horse himself both jumped really well and had plenty of running when the leaders did try. My overriding feeling watching the race again is the same as it was before it started, really. If there's one horse who has the potential to be a cut above his present handicap, to be fair, the winner was said better out of the handicap, so maybe that's a silly thing to say. He's clearly a cut above his mark. But Jaguar's the horse surely to take out the race, it wasn't that his jumping was bad, like it wasn't bad when he won at the Cheltenham Festival. He can just make mistakes, like Steve was describing the cross country, at the wrong time. He made a couple early on Saturday, and that meant he was further back, to be fair, than his jockey wanted to be. And there was a time about the 8th or the 9th where he was starting to make headway, and again, he just got it wrong. And I think as a result, he was left with too much to do. And I did form the opinion he was probably the moral winner there in different circumstances.
Yeah. I felt similar. I felt Jaguar will emerge as the best horse in the race, as we kind of felt going into it. Sean Bowen, brilliant. Faye Bramley, what a day for her.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a hate-hate relationship with Glengouly. I backed him in with the Topham last year and drifted no race for Willie Mullins, having ran really well in the Grand National the year before. I then backed him last time when Harry Cobden rode him when he finished third to Triple Trade, and then runs here £7 out the handicap and gets allowed an easy lead. I think probably Harry Cobden's the most guilty of allowing that. I thought Il Ridotto is the horse that got his ground in one of these big handicaps. Yeah. He's always ridden prominently. I thought it was best when dictating and kind of allowed Sean Bowen to have a length lead over them. I can understand why Dylan Johnston did it on Vincenzo. He was slightly keen, probably wanted to hold on to him a bit longer. He made a couple of novice-y mistakes, I felt, throughout. I think he only got £1 here, but I think softer ground might be a help to Vincenzo going forward. But Jaguar's a tricky one because I understand why they ride him that way, because he's keen, so you want to get cover. But he's such a big horse that jumping between horses doesn't suit him.
I was surprised that he went...
We watched the plate last year, didn't we, next to each other? And we were both saying throughout, oh, he's jumping, like, just get him out. But then you look at how keen he is when he actually does get out, and he's a real tricky one. He's got a big day in him, but everything needs to fall right. Normally these big handicap chases, there is a strong pace. This wasn't one. And would a graded chase suit him better? I don't know. I think they need to look at the field. Like something, I don't know, with maybe Il Francais, if he runs again in the Ryanair chase, that might set him up for him. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we've seen a lot of races in our lifetime, but you often think that horses end up being pigeonholed unnecessarily, like Jaguar's got to be held up and he's got to sit in behind horses or whatever. But you look at his size and the way he gallops and the way he finishes races off. Does he have to be that far back sitting in behind horses, or could he be ridden more prominently?
Well, Steve's argument is that because of his keenness, they're forced into it. I guess the key is to try and get the horse to settle. Probably then you could ride him in a more orthodox fashion. I think it's dangerous. There's plenty. We have these horses every year, and I make the statement that he's probably got a really good race in him. The trouble is, he's never missed in the market. I think loads of people think the same thing, and I think it'll end up, certainly from speaking personally, when he has that day. I'm pretty sure I won't be with him because, you can make the same case for him almost every time he runs. I think, but the ability is definitely there.
Okay, I guess my thing is that if you're always in behind horses, you're more likely to be keen. Whereas sometimes you go forward and let them get into a rhythm. But who knows? I've not ridden round Cheltenham over fences at least.
You've ridden. It was
hilarious. Never fallen.
He's young enough to give it a go, isn't he? Like just
Exactly.
allow him to be prominent or front run one day, and if it goes wrong, then go. Sorry, we got it wrong.
The Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle on Saturday went the way of Carlin Rigg. Good finish. And again, we'll talk about jockeyship here as well, because a lot of people made the point that Derek Fox didn't go fast enough on Conman John.
Yeah, I think this is a race that you could run another 5 times and have 3 different winners. I think the top 3 would all like another go. I think Derek Fox could have gone faster on Conman John. I thought the runner-up, They Call Me Hugo, probably would have won if he didn't have to. He had to switch in and then got caught and then switched out again. And then Harry Skelton's horse drifted across and had to switch. So I think the top 3 would have all had a chance of winning if you ran that again. The finishing speed percentage was 112%, which kind of says how slowly they went throughout it. And it didn't really just gradually build. It was kind of just a sprint at the finish. And looking at them all, they all look like chasers of the future. But if you ask me if they're graded chasers of the future, I'd say no. I think they're all going to be kind of handicap chasers. I don't think it was the strongest race. Like come March, I don't think any of these will be running or winning an Albert Bartlett. They may well be running in it.
I think Conman John's still a potentially useful, exciting young horse. I just wished we'd have seen more of his stamina. I felt that's one of his big assets.
Yeah, I think I agree with every word that Steve said about the race and about the summary of what the form means and going forward the Albert Bartlett. All I would say is that of the 3 horses who, for different reasons, were each connection could come away thinking they're capable of better, which I think is sort of what you're saying, which I agree with. Conman John, it was their fault. Or I think whereas the other thing was circumstantial, not getting a clear run on the runner-up, greenness on the winner. I don't really think there's any obvious reason why they went a moderate pace on Conman John. That just didn't struck me as odd. He looked a stayer. Scudamore Peter Scudamore made some comment about him being a stayer when he won the preceding meeting. So that was slightly strange. He still emerged from the race with credit, trying to give weight away, but I agree with Steve about the overall take of the form. I wouldn't be certain which one would come out best, and I suspect all of them are not up to winning an Albert Bartlett.
16-1. Carlin Rigg with Bet365 for the Albert Bartlett. They Call Me Hugo 20s and Conman John 25-1. Of course, the favourite at the moment for the Albert Bartlett is No Drama this end at 12s, but who knows what race he'll run in.
That's an over-exaggeration on Conman John. At those prices, I'd prefer to back him out of the three.
Yeah, probably right. Yeah, I sort of agree. Yeah.
There were some other really interesting performances, particularly at Cheltenham. I'm pretty certain there's one other, maybe 2, that you'd want to mention from Cheltenham.
I was really impressed. How far it goes, I don't know. But I was really impressed with Old Park Star. When you were doing that thing at the beginning about what horses have impressed you most, I had a few bob on him for the Supreme after that. I thought 20s was a was a bit big, basically. But I didn't get much on. That's another story. But it's nonetheless, I thought there was a load to like about it. I thought it jumped beautifully, travelled really well. They didn't go that, it was just an okay pace. But I think the horse is capable of more. He's run to a mark officially of 142, I think it was said. He needs to be £10 more than that. But that's not impossible. I thought he won with a lot in hand. So I was taken with him and taken with the fact that Nicky Henderson's got a pretty strong hand this year. He might not train the 300 horses that other people have, but I've got some good ones, hasn't he?
He's 16-1 for the Supreme. Nicky Henderson's another horse, same colours.
Yeah.
Active Innocence, 20-1 with Bet365 for the Supreme. Favourite is My Daddy Paddy at 5s. Again, I think a lot of people have mentioned it, but questionable how all the form ties in with the prices at the moment from what Old Park Star and Active Innocence have done. And was the other performance that you want to mention the Juvenile Hurdle on Saturday?
Oh yeah, I just think that lots of things to think about. The horses, Minella Study we're talking about. I did think he won really well. He is a horse who's got to jump forward another £10. Last year, East India Dog had a mark of 146, which is official rating. And I think had earned it as well in the readings at Cheltenham. I think Lulan had a mark in the 140s, low 140s. I think they were the best two horses around. I think in a different triumph hurdle, they hadn't got racing 3 furlongs out. I think they would have been first and second. But I think that's a minimum standard you're aiming at, mid-40s, 140s plus. Don't think Minella Study did that, but I thought it was a big step forward on Weatherby. I love the fact, I think the track really suited him. He's a galloping horse, and the galloping from 3 out of 5 furlongs or whatever it is, I think really suits him, and he jumped very well, and I wouldn't underestimate him. Whether he's a triumph hurdle winner, I don't know, but I was even more interested if they return to the flat, because he's just one of the best handicapped flat horses around, I think.
Yes. In fairness, Steve said that before the race.
I did.
Working together on last Saturday, he said before the race, he goes, looking forward to backing Minella Study off 69 on the flat.
Yeah.
Like I was saying afterwards, I'm not sure the price will be as generous as it was.
Days have gone.
He's 20-1 with Bet365 for the Triumph Hurdle, for which Manche 2 is your favourite at 10s. What else in the last week, Steve, apart from what we've mentioned so far, really caught your eye?
I thought David's Well was good.
That was a good race, wasn't it?
It was a good race, and I thought jumping was the name of the game. Both him and JPR1 from the front jumped really well.
Yeah.
The handicapper, I don't think has gone mad. +6 to 134. I thought he won despite of the ground. I thought a bit of softer ground
100%.
over the winter, I think would suit him, and I think that £6 rise could be lenient. He's never going to be a big price with all those ones next to his name, but I thought he could probably go in again. But yeah, I think the ground probably that was as quick as he'd want it, and it was quick.
Yeah.
At Cheltenham, I know what they called it, but that was fast ground based on times.
Yeah.
I thought Nurse Susan was obviously a good winner of that mare's handicap hurdle. I thought she was entitled to win it. She dropped down to a mark of 127, which is only £2 higher than her win in that. Handicappers put her up 7 to 134, and I think the Coral Cup is the plan for her, obviously in the colours of Langadan.
Yes.
They obviously like that race.
Poignant memories.
Definitely. Titan Discovery won the concluding 3-mile handicap on Friday. Nice story for Robbie Llewellyn, first Cheltenham winner as a trainer. They're really nice guy. I spent a time with him. And then Can You Call won the Veterans Chase. I loved watching that race. Eldorado Allen didn't win, but again, put his heart into it. And that's what those Veterans Chases are for. The handicappers put the winner up 10 to 128. So that's probably him now. Winning has been done, but he was working well at home. Evan Williams basically said afterwards and said, yeah, the horse had just come alive, and he was backed accordingly.
Giving it back from 10s to whatever. I don't think he's bothered about how much he's gone up. I suspect that they've had their year's money on that.
Yeah, and then just a couple obviously over in Chartin.
Yes.
I thought the flat action obviously is now coming towards the end, but I thought all 3 winners there, Sosi, Kaiying Rising and Romantic Warrior, are all really good performances. Were they betting propositions? No, but it was just great to see brilliant horses doing their thing.
Where do you stand with Kaiying Rising being, in terms of his status as a great sprinter?
Well, he clearly is a great sprinter. Where he is exactly, I don't know. I don't know.
Is he the best? Who's the best racehorse, flat horse in the world? Is it Kaiying Rising? No, I know it doesn't really matter, but people talk about it.
It is. don't entirely trust sprinters for a general prejudice. I don't. I mean, I'm old enough to live through the days you're
Especially
day,
the
and I was
human
never
one.
excited with him particularly, even though he was a great horse. I'm not arguing about it, but I've always been more interested or got more out of horse racing with the milers, mile and a quarter horses, middle distance stayers. I don't love, so I come with a prejudice, but you can't argue that he's not brilliant. It's a brilliant horse. Where he is, I don't know. Certainly, he beat all ours. We haven't got a decent sprinter, have we, in terms of historically? But how good he is, I'd be the last person to ask, really.
Yeah, I'd love to see him come over here, but they're moaning about the prize money.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's enough of a barrier
With
when
Black
you've already
Caviar-
won 15 million.
Black Caviar come over, though, and wasn't that underwhelming?
Yeah. Well, it was exciting.
Well, it was,
The jockey made it exciting.
Jockey made it exciting.
Even without that, he'd only won a length or something, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, that was the same meeting that Frankel ran in.
Yeah.
And the talk there was about the two greatest horses in the world. I know who the best horse out of those two was, blimey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm with you on that.
Well, there's no question.
And what about Romantic Warrior going back to the Saudi Cup to take on Forever Young again in the rematch?
Yeah, that'd be a good rematch, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think jockey tactics will be slightly different this time. But again, that's what you want with this horse racing. You want these flat performers coming back year after year and these clashes. Because Forever Young, I think, has improved.
Yeah.
And it's just whether a change in ride for Romantic Warrior will mean that you can turn the tables. But that's one of these ones that you can build up for months on end because everyone, even people that don't particularly like dirt racing, will tune in to watch that.
Indeed, that will be some clash. Yeah. But of course, we've got some more interesting clashes coming up, and that'll be in our Christmas preview. But before we get there, just to let you know that our sponsor Bet365 have a best odds guaranteed offer. It is available on every single UK and Irish race from 8 a.m. on the day of the race. If you take a price and the SP is bigger, Bet365 will pay you at the bigger odds. Full T's and C's can be found on the website. We'll get to some of the bigger races at Christmas in just a moment, but let's focus first of all on the long walk hurdle at Ascot this weekend. Bet365 have Impostoire as the 5-2 favourite. Owner Companion, Honesty Policy 11-4. Strong Leader 5-1. Crambo going for a hat trick in the race 7s. Potter's Charm 8s. Namine Line 12s, and then 14-1 or bigger the remainder. Steve, you get first dibs on this.
Interesting. I fancy Impostoire to confirm the Newbury form. Thought the Newbury race was ideal for the runner-up, and I thought Impostoire, if he jumped the last a bit more fluently, I think he would have been a slightly more emphatic winner. But I wouldn't be interested in 5-2. This is a deeper race, I think. Crambo, obviously, the Crambos won the last two, will have a great chance. It's not a race I'm going to have a bet in, Rich, but I'm interested in seeing Namine Line have another go at 3 miles. Only had one go, pulled up in the World Hurdle, and it wasn't the trip, would have been beat 3 out. It was in trouble. I don't know why. Maybe this is his time of year. Either way, I thought he ran well in the fighting fifth. 2.5 miles, gets strongly. I'd like to see him, I'm interested in how he gets on back at 3 miles again. But I don't know. Gun to my head, I think Impostoire was the most likely winner, but I think the price is too short for me.
Okay, Steve?
I personally don't think Impostoire is going to run.
No,
Now, I highlighted the fact that he has good form fresh, which is why I was slightly against him last time. I think they're now going to look at that form fresh and go straight to the stayers. Honesty Policy, according to Frank Berry, is going to come here. Again, is another horse with good form fresh. I really liked his win at Aintree over Regent Stroll.
Yeah.
Obviously bettered that form, I think, going down by less than a length behind Jasmine DeVoe at the Punchestown Festival. And he's a proper stayers hurdle horse for this season, so I'll be with him. But it is a fascinating race. You rarely get a horse going for a hat-trick of wins in a Grade 1 at 10-1. But the thing that puts me off about Crambo is that he won this in 2022 off a 257-day break, 2023 off a 197-day break. Sorry, that wasn't that race. Won it last year off a 252 break, but then ran behind Woodoo last time and showed nothing on his reappearance. Yeah. So it is a different change of tactic, and I just worry that he isn't in the same sort of form. Potter's Charm, I'm fascinated to see him over 3 miles. Obviously, they tried that. He fell. I thought he ran a better race over 2.5 behind Woodoo last time. And Sam Twiston-Davis is staying loyal to him rather than going on Beauport, who finished second in this race last year. But yeah, I'd be with Honesty Policy. I don't think they're going to run them both together. And given that I think Impostoire is a better horse fresh, I think they may well save him for Cheltenham and let Honesty Policy take his chance in this.
Like you, I was quite interested to see how Potter's Charm gets on over this longer trip. It always seemed to me, even like when he finished 5th at the festival, he's going as fast as he can go, and it wasn't quite fast enough against better, speedier rivals. And again, go back to the race at Ascot where he's behind Woodoo and Celtic Dino. Those are 2 quick horses at that trip, and he got outpaced by them from the last.
He ran well.
I thought
I can see that.
Not a strong betting race, but I'll be interested in him. Before we get into more Christmas stuff, I'm just going to ask you for a little bit more for this weekend. There's the Silver Cup. I'll mention just quickly the prices for this race. Blow Your Wads, the 4-1 favourite. Victorino going for a 3rd win in a row in this race is 9-2. Henry's Friend 5-1. Pick Rock 5-1. Johnny Who 6s, 10s, Deep Cave. There's that race to have a quick chat about, and then there's the Ladbrokes Handicap Hurdle. Mondo Man 11-4, Alexi 7-2, Willful, who I know you picked up on after the Chepstow, are 9-2, and then 10s bar those. So for those 2 races, any strong views, Steve?
Yeah, Victorino I do like. I think the whole season will have been around a 3rd Silver Cup, or hopefully a 3rd Silver Cup. Won it in 2023 off a mark of 142, won it last year off a mark of 143, and is back down to a mark of 146, so could still be way handicapped. The Ascot angle is the angle with him, has form figures at the track of 1-1, 4-1-1, including a course and distance victory in the Swinley Chase when he beat 3 under 3.5 last year by a nose. That rivals off a £3 better off at the weights with him, but
I didn't like them run away.
Neither did I. No, below par reappearance there, as did Victorino, but I think Victorino, you kind of saw that this would have been the long-term target, and it was a pipe opener in order to get ready for this. So I thought, what price is he?
He's 9-2.
Yeah, so I'd probably back him each way, even though he's at 9-2, because I do think he's rock solid back at Ascot. You touched on Willful in that handicap hurdle, the old Ladbroke. He must be well handicapped off a mark of 135. Finished 3rd in that Welsh champion hurdle. The winner that day, Celtic Dino, is now rated £10 higher. The runner-up, Alexi, is now rated £20 higher. Tutti Quanti finished 6th and is now rated £6 higher, and Willful's only £1 higher. So if you look just on that form, the obvious concern there is the John Joe O'Neill stable. They obviously shut down for a bit. They've come back. It's still not flying. I think they're still around kind of an 8-10% strike rate at the minute, but he is a horse that I will be backing just because of that form line.
All right. Thoughts on those 2 races, Steve?
More opinion on the hurdle. Very briefly, the Silver Cup, my slight opinion would be Pick Rock, who I thought ran well in the Gold Cup. I formed the opinion that day that right-handed would be better for him, and I think his win at Huntington the time before doesn't confirm it, but gives substance to that. So I think he might run better at Ascot, but it's definitely not sure. Really looking forward to that. I agree all that's said about Willful, who I think is the best handicapped horse in the race on hurdles form. I think the 2 horses I'm fascinated by. Mondo Man, I'm sure, has had this wind off for a while. He's 105 rated on the flat, running off 123 over jumps. Big fan of Gary Moore, as the old now, Gary and Josh Moore. They like Ascot and Sandown, the 2 places. I suspect this has been a target for about a year and a half, for a little while. And I think that'll run very well, but it hasn't really been missed the market. But also, I've lost money on, but I pray the horse is ridden differently. Hot Fuzz, I took a back last year in what used to be the Fred Winter. I think it was given them far too positive a ride that day. And in fact, the only horse ridden positively who stayed there. Everything else ridden up there dropped out at the back of the television. He did very well to be 4th. I thought they would have learned their lesson. Returns at Newbury, it's exactly the same ride. And I do worry that between them, Tom Dascombe and David Bass don't realise. If you look at his flat form, and he's well handicapped flat form. He's not a front runner. He hasn't got to be ridden prominently. Don't really understand why they're doing that. If you could guarantee me he would be given an orthodox ride, I think he is well handicapped, and I know I'll end up backing him, and I know I'll be screaming at the television after a furlong when David Bass has gunned him to the front again, because he does like gunning horses.
Well, the 2 horses you like, Mondo Man is 11-4 with Bet365, and Hot Fuss is 33-1.
Yeah.
So. Bit of a play, but interesting. I like the horse a lot, Hot Fuss, but I think here we'll see how he goes. Willful's the obvious one, and I do like Victorino as well for the Silver Cup. I was interested in 303.5, but I went back and watched the race again at Wincanton, and he just doesn't. He had the wind up, didn't he, before he came back at Wincanton, and just didn't look right. Okay, let's move in and talk about some of the big Christmas racing, and of course, the highlight is the King George VI Chase at Kempton. Gaelic Warriors a 7-4 favourite. Django Bay 9-4. The Jukebox Man 9-2. Factor File 5-1. Jello 9s. Last year's winner Banbridge 16s. Ile Francais 20s. Fast or Slow 25s. And then fancy prices about the rest. Steve.
Okay. Fascinating race. It's a really good renewal, isn't it, first of all? I really hope they all, or the majority of them, say about whether Factor File comes over. I don't know. Obviously, it'd be great if it did. Working on Saturday, and I hadn't really given it that much thought. I was asked to give an opinion. I said maybe Jello was my fancy. I've changed my mind a bit, having thought about this since then. Knew we were talking about the race today. My feeling about the race is that there's guaranteed pace, isn't there?
Yeah.
Ile Francais, if it runs, has only got one way of running. Gaelic Warrior likes to be ridden prominently. The Jukebox Man, certainly own novice chases, has been ridden prominently. And Jello's normally ridden up there. So I found myself thinking I wouldn't mind, if I had an opinion, it's going to be something that's going to be given a little bit of a chance. And I don't think it's a great price on what he's done, but my pin has fallen on Django Bay in the end. I just think the race might suit him. We know he's fine game right-handed. Come from another parish to win the Arkle last year, but he's clearly a horse who's got stamina. Whether he's entitled to be quite short in the market or what he's literally done, I think you probably can poke holes at his last run, but I think the race might really suit him the way it's going to be run.
Yeah, I can see that. Steve?
I agree entirely.
Okay, wow.
And when we reviewed that Ascot race, I was kind of lukewarm on it because I thought everything was set up perfectly for him. That was the day where Gidley Park took on Ile Francais and picked Dory, and it literally set up perfectly for him. But like Steve touched on, I think it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Gaelic Warrior is best from the front. I think he'll be given that ride, like you touched on. The Jukebox Man was impressive in the Quarto Star last year. I just don't like the fact that when he adjusts himself at fences, he goes slightly left-handed. And I think you can get away with that. That form is fairly average from that Quarto Star last year. And I think you can get away with it, not in a King George. So that would put me slightly off him. Jello, I'm just not sure he's quite good enough to win a proper King George. And this is a proper King George. I would have liked Fast or Slow. Martin Brazel seems to want to send him to the Savills Chase instead. So yeah, I came down on Django Bay as well. I do think he's going to be ridden to pick up the pieces, and I think he will. Nicky Henderson knows exactly what he's doing with this. Obviously run it a couple of times with Long Run, won it with Might Bite, and I do think this is the race that should suit him down to the ground. So yeah, I'm not enthused about the price, and I probably wouldn't back him yet because even though we've both gone for him, I don't think he is one that's going to have a huge amount of market support. He's not one of these sexy horses coming into it. I think Gaelic Warrior will be well backed. I think Ile Francais will see some money based on when the replays of last year and the Quarto Star win come on the TV. But yeah, Django Bay currently would be my selection.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the race is as deep as it looks on paper at the moment. The two horses who are heading likely to Ireland or staying in Ireland are the two horses I'd be most interested in. If Factor File turned up in this race, I think he would carry all my Christmas money for this race. I think this is a race that suits him down to the ground. I said the same thing about Fast or Slow 2 years ago, as you know, Steve. So if either one turned up, I'd be playing them because I do think the race would suit both horses. They're good that way. They're good. They've got 2.5 mile pace, but they can see it out a bit further. But annoyingly, it looks as if both of them might be staying in Ireland. But if either one turned up, I'd side with them. But I'm hoping I'll be there on Boxing Day, and I'm hoping that most of those horses turn up. It should be very exciting indeed. Okay, obviously the day after Boxing Day, it is the Welsh Grand National, and Jubilee Express 6-1 to go one better this year. Mr. Vango 7-1, Gitmaker 8-1, Haiti Kalor. What did Rebecca Curtis say after the defeat last time? That he's like a caged bull. Ready to go again. O'Connell 10-1, Rock My Way 10s, Shermanucci's 12s, 14s bar those prices with Bet365. Steve, what do you like here?
When I looked at this yesterday, I thought I was being clever. Nasalam was around 33s, 50s, and the price continues to tumble. 20s, 16s, I don't know what he is now.
20s.
Yeah. Now, form figures, I'll do another form figure readout. P0, P, 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 P. In his races success in this.
Popo.
But the handicapper went mad. Like won it by 34 lengths or something, and has now finally dropped back down to that mark of 145. Ran at both the October and the November meeting. I actually would have preferred it if they hadn't changed him back to blinkers last time and saved it for this race, but he's had a wind up since that race, back down to the mark. It's going to be testing conditions at Chepstow once again, and like Steve had touched on earlier, Gary Moore is a brilliant target trainer, and I think he'll be ready to go for this. Having had a wind up, the blinkers will be on, the track suits, the conditions will suit, and I thought 20s is probably the minimum I would then back him at, because I do think he is one that is obvious to make the case for. I'm less enthusiastic about the price now, but 20s would be minimum.
Yeah. I actually thought the first P at Cheltenham this season wasn't that bad a run as well. What do you like here?
Love the race.
By the way, has Gary Moore told you that this has been the plan?
No, he didn't tell me about man to man. I'm just surmising. No, Gary's not. He definitely wouldn't tell you. I love the Welsh National. I think it's a great race, and it needs to be running soft ground, and it is most years I know. But I'm glad it's going to be again. I think it's a very important race for Di Waters. I think he's a very proud Welshman, and I suspect this has been a target for any horse that is liable, that he can run. So I think Jubilee Express is a good favourite. Runner-up last year, he was good on his win last time out. I think he's bound to run well, but the idea of the thing is to look for different horses. I fancy another one of theirs a bit, and I'm increasingly tempted by a thing called Showmanucci, who I think is
12-1.
I think it's absolutely a stayer in the making who's never had a chance to run in a staying race. He's very likely racer for fences, and I don't know. I have no idea whether his jumping will last, but I think he's a real stayer. I think the Haydock run was a pipe opener. I think he'd be much better than that. And I just fancy this has been the target for a while. I remember him winning over hurdles last year in very soft ground over just shy of 3 miles, and he could have gone round again. I mean, he could have won at 5 miles. I'm just convinced he's got, bottomless stamina. So I could just see him running well. So I'd go for Showmanucci in the hope that he's completely unexposed.
Okay, and he is 12-1 with Bet365. I liked Dom of Mary for this race. I know he's a 9-year-old now, but he used to be trained by David Bridgewater, who did okay with him. But he went to James Owen. He's had 2 runs for James Owen since then. His first run for James Owen wasn't bad, but it looked like he blew up at Kelso. And then he went from there to win at Newcastle, where he beat Zertact, who, of course, came out and franked the form at Cheltenham. And going down to the last in that race at Newcastle, Zertact slowed up into it. But in fairness, even so, Zertact then holds off everything else, apart from Dom of Mary, who did fly the last, but he's hit the line very hard. And although he's gone up in the handicap, the switch of stables, and it wouldn't be the first horse, either on the flat or over jumps, that James Owen has got more out of. And I think he's unlocked all the potential that Dom of Mary has got. So the other thing as well is that, we were talking about this earlier, is that horses at Chepstow come off the bridle they're going to come off the bridle a long way from it, but they race so far out, they get going so far out that you need a horse who will just keep going. And you watch the race back at Newcastle, he's off the bridle a long way, but he keeps finding. That bottomless stamina certainly applies to him. He's versatile on all types of ground. He's won on heavy ground, etc. So I thought 16-1, he would be the play for me. So hopefully a few interesting shouts in the Welsh Grand National at Chepstow on the 27th. We're going to have a brief chat about the Rewards Club Chase at Leopardstown. Again, good racing coming from everywhere. Now, Matchborough is a 2-1 favourite for this with Bet365. Marine Nationale 5-2. Founder 54-1. Dino Blue 5s. Only by Night, who a few Shrewdies have put up for the Champion Chase. 8-1, and then 10s bar those. Steve?
I've backed Marshborough at 2-1 for this. I'm sure I read both Founder 50 and Quilixios will miss this. Surely Elete Tom goes for the Clarence House instead. So you've basically got a match in my head between Marshborough and Marine Nationale. Marine Nationale misses intended prep in the Fortria Chase on account of the heavy ground, which I think is justified. Probably a blessing. He has a bit of a mixed record at Leopardstown. Obviously won that beginner's chase in impressive style, but then has been beaten in 3 Grade 1s since. And Barry Connell seems to think that this horse is going to win 5 champion chases. So that definitely would have been been the target for the whole season. I just chance Marshall going back left-handed. I still maintain I don't think he jumped too badly at Cork, other than going the wrong way round. Yes, he made a mistake at the second last, but I didn't actually think he was going to lose that amount of ground. I think going back left-handed will suit him. I think going back to Leopardstown will suit him. Loads of Willie Mullins horses are stepping forward for their reappearance run, and I think this will be the only time this season that you can back Marshall at around 2-1.
All right, strong case then for Marshall in the Rewards Club Chase. Do you like anything in this?
I agree again with both the case and the tip. Who knows if Marine National's... I can't believe this is his target. I mean, we saw enough in the John Durkan to know there's horses who... It's necessarily the day that horses are running isn't the big day for their year, and I suspect Cheltenham in March is where Marine National... But I'm sure it run well, because he's a very good horse. I've got nothing against him. But I thought it was right. I agree with Steve summing up about Marshall. He was... Some of the jumps looked bad, but I think there's context in them. And even in the Arkle, I know he had that appalling mistake 2 out, but I don't think he's inherently a bad jumper. I think he has got good jumps in him. We're talking about Willie Mullins here as well, who, he's a great trainer for a reason. I suspect they'd be very keen on a different outcome this time to get his champion chase back. I think 2-1's a reasonable price. I think it's the best horse in the race. If it jumps well, I think it will win. Even at their best, I'd fancy him to beat Marine National personally, if they both ran their best form. And I think with that run under his belt, going left-handed, I think he's got more things in his favour than maybe Marine National.
All right, so Madgeborough, I think it's fair to say, if those at the top of the market turn up, he might win anyway, as Steve says. The Savills Chase on the 28th of December, again, potentially another big race. Now, these are the prices with Bet365. Factor File 11-8, Galopin de Champ 11-4. I know the way you're thinking, 4-1. Fast or Slow 8-1, and then obviously Gaelic Warrior 16s, but going to Kempton. Grey Dawning not going to Ireland. Okay.
It's I don't think it's the be-all and end-all for Galopin de Champ. I definitely don't think it's a be-all and end-all for I Know the Way You're Thinking. I think it's in danger of being an underrated Gold Cup winner. I thought he was really good on Gold Cup Day, but I suspect that's what everything is planned for. So whether it be, I thought he just had a run round on his debut, on his real. The run looked to be easy. I'm trying to, put it.
Well, he was never in the race.
It was never ever in the race that day, and there's no relation to.
Some people will say he was never given a chance to get in the race because of the way Gaelic Warrior went about it. As much as
who knows the reason? I just don't think. I think he's a few months away from important targets. I expect he'll run better. Whether we could, I think Factor's most likely winner, but it makes that races like that when it's not. I can't get into my head how important the race is to connections. They make no appeal as a betting, but I'm really looking forward to the race. They're great horses, and we've got a chance to see them again and learn things. But in terms of betting, no. Factor will probably win.
Yeah, well, the second and third favourites are the last. You've got the 3 Gold Cups between them, and Factor File, the hugely impressive Ryanair winner, is the favourite. I mean, I like him. Wherever he turns up, I'll be with Factor File. So if it's this race, that's him for me.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced about 3 miles for him. I still think he's better down in trip. I'd go all the way back to the champion chase with him if he was mine. I don't think Galopin's going to run, is he? If he does, he's fascinating because I think he is a better horse at Leopardstown than anywhere else, including Cheltenham. But you've got to think back to why he's defeated in the John Durkan each year. Is it Punchestown? Is it the trip? Or is it the first run of the season? So that would slightly make me lukewarm on Galopin, even though he might reappear at Leopardstown. He obviously has the option of Tremor as well, which I think they may well go for. You've touched on some of the horses that won't run, the likes of Gaelic Warrior, Grey Dawning and things. I thought Fast or Slow was the right bet here each way. Yeah. I assume you can still get 3 places?
3 places, 8-1.
Yeah, I thought that was... He obviously had the stepping stone from the John Durkan. He was the only one that got anywhere near the front 2 in the market. Looking back, he finished 4 lengths behind Galopin in the Irish Gold Cup in 2024. Was still going when JJ7 had a soft unseat in the Gold Cup that year. Reversed that form at Punchestown. Thought he ran a good race in the John Durkan last year when it was clearly a prep for the King George. Got injured. I thought it was a perfect prep run again. He jumps well. He's got enough speed. He's got stamina. and I could not see him out of the 3, so I thought it was a knocking each way bet at 8-1.
Not a bad call. The December hurdle, again, Leopardstown on the 29th of December. Lossiemouth is your 5-2 on favourite. Now, Brighter Days Ahead needs to be supplemented for the race. She's 130, but they are sticking for the time being to hurdles. That's the plan. Gordon Elliott's come out and said that. Amsterdam's 5-1. Woodoo, 6-1. Gordon Elliott saying this week he'd love another go at Lossiemouth. I'm not sure when that will be. And then 16-1 or bigger, the remainder. How do you see this race? If Brighter Days Ahead turns up, which it seems this is going to be the plan, and it's not going to be Woodoo lining up against Lossiemouth, how do you see it? Yeah,
it's a difficult race to preview at this stage, isn't it? I assume if they're thinking of supplementing Brighter Days Ahead, that means that Woodoo doesn't drop down to 2 miles, thankfully. Lossiemouth, I think, is a better horse at Cheltenham in March than anywhere else throughout the season. So even though she is a short price, I think she might win this, but I think it will be more workmanlike than what you may think it to be. And I'm just hoping that it's not workmanlike enough that Willie Mullins thinks of sending her to the mares, because I do think she's got a right chance in the Champion Hurdle this year.
All right. It's so hard to have a view on this race, Steve.
Yeah, I'd like, Stephen and I have agreed a lot, I'd like Woodoo to have a go at 2 miles. I think it's deceptive horse, but it doesn't sound like it's going to happen. But I wouldn't mind her taking on Lossiemouth. But we'll see. It's a difficult race to preview when you don't know who's running.
It is indeed. Like a few of them are. There's the Christmas hurdle, in which Ballyburn's going to run.
Is Tupu taking him on again, or is that?
I think so, but there's so much still up in the air. In fairness, but I think Ballyburn will beat him this time.
So do I. Yeah.
No?
No,
you're not sure about that?
I don't think he's a 3-miler. You can't race with your head on the floor for 2 miles and stay the 3-mile trip. You look back at all the good 3-mile hurdlers, they're always slightly behind the bridle, don't they? I cannot see him excelling over 3 miles. I understand completely. If you watch from the 2 hurdles out in the Hatton's Grace, I can understand why you'd think that Ballyburn would reverse that form over 3 miles. But we know that Tuipu's a stayer. I'm not convinced that Ballyburn is a stayer. I think they'll ride him differently. They might ride Ballyburn from the front this time, but it's interesting that, like, the fact that they are changing tack with Tuipu and actually running him at Christmas. He's never ran at Leopardstown in his career, which I thought was absolute madness for a horse of that age and profile. I'd prefer to back Tuipu for a stayers hurdle than what I would for this race, but I still don't think 3 miles will bring out the best in Ballyburn.
So a quick look at the betting for that.
I feel that the last couple of years the stayers haven't been very good, and I think Tuipu's been probably just about the best of ones that are very good. I must say, I thought Gordon Elliott were in great form, and I think he had everything in his favour that day and scrambled home. You might be right about Ballyburn. We're talking about opinions rather than betting. I suspect Ballyburn might just be a better horse than Tuipu.
I watched the race again. I had a different read about it. I thought Ballyburn was ridden to settle through the race in an educational way, because obviously their plan for Ballyburn this season is the Stayers Hurdle. So there's no way that he's going to win a Stayers Hurdle if he's as keen as he was previously. I think that the way they rode him in the race on his comeback run against Tuipu, which is Tuipu's race, was entirely educational. The result was almost pointless to them, in a sense. If he could have won, great. But it was ridden to help the horse finish off the race in an educational way. And this is going to be the real test for Ballyburn's future and whether he's going to be there. And I think that race will have helped him enormously for the future. And that's why I thought, he's 10-11 with Bet365, Tuipu's 9-4, 11-2 Bob Ollinger. I thought this is the one. This is more a race that they want to establish him in.
I'm sure Gordon will have something in there in order to try and pester him in the lead.
Yeah,
that would be my concern.
Well, I hope he's not going to lead. I hope he's going to sit in and get a lead and behave himself. But so, I mean, this is it. So much lovely racing to talk about, but there are a load of other races we haven't even mentioned yet. There's the Future Star Champions Novice Hurdle. There's the Romeo Coolio running on Boxing Day at Leopardstown, potentially one of my favourite horses. Wendigo, I like him in the Quarto Star Novices Chase. Final Demand might go for the. I mean, who knows? What else might?
I'm looking forward to Final Demand running again. The horse I'm most looking forward to running over Christmas, and it's definitely not to do with betting. My 2 favourite horses in training over jumps at the moment are both in the same ownership and the same everything. It's Lulambo and Sergino. I am really looking forward to Sergino running again. I know it's almost by accident, it's coming back hurdling. I don't think Kempton 2-mile hurdles is his ideal. I think he's a staying 2-miler. He might get away with it. I'm not saying he won't, but I hope he runs well enough to have a go at a champion hurdle, or runs maybe decisively not enough to go back to chasing. What I don't want is a sort of an in-between and I'm in an R. I think he'll win the Christmas hurdle given who's likely to line up, and I think they'll go down the champion hurdle route. I think he's such a talented horse.
If he was your horse and you had any choice of what you'd do him, you don't have to worry about Constitution Hill or State Man and all that sort of stuff. Where would you go, champion hurdle, or would you go champion chase?
I thought he was so brilliant over fences last year. Such a brilliant performance, and how he jumped, I thought was fantastic. So I'd probably go that way. That said, before he ran in that race last year, I was really disappointed they weren't going to have one go at winning the champion hurdle. I think he's a star-crossed horse, isn't he? Most people agree he would have won a Triumph hurdle in the year he ran, and they got ill a couple of days beforehand. Most people think he probably would have won the Arkle. Maybe not, but he would have had a great chance. And he gets ill 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. So I think he's one of them. He deserves one go at a really top race. And I think he is so talented. I really do think he's a potential great. If he's, obviously we've got the doubt now, we haven't seen him for a year, and how healthy he is. That's all a worry. So it's not a betting. I'd love him to turn up the Clipper hurdle and rouse him. And that would then be it. Then Lottie Mouth will go for the mare's hurdle. They'll bottle it. Well, if they think she might get beat, they'll go mare's hurdle, won't they? That's what they've done the last 2 years.
What else would they line up in the champion?
I just think they whatever else, and Rishi would disagree, but they have taken the easier option both times. That's what they've done. Should have run, more than once in the champion hurdle. And I think if they see something really win well, I think there'll be discussions about where she runs personally.
Okay. Steve, what else are you interested in over Christmas period?
Just touching on that, I would have concerns if you're thinking about backing Sergino at short prices. Like, the horse genuinely nearly died.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't back her.
No, but he is one that you cheer on with no money on, hope that you see a superstar performance, because he could be the real poster boy of National Hunt Racing. He is that good. There's a couple at Ascot on Friday. I like Steel Ally in that Grade 2 novices chase. That looks as if it's going to be a strong race. You've got the likes of Blue King Daru, Jax Jr., no questions asked. But Steel Ally, I really liked as a progressive hurdler last season. I was impressed with his chasing debut, beating an Unexpected Party last time. Had the options of the Henry VIII novice chase, but come in here instead. And here's a horse, I think, with a big future, is Steel Ally. Hopefully it's a good day on that Friday at Ascot for Di Walters and Sam Thomas. I was fascinated by the fact that they might run Just for Dad on his debut in a listed bumper at Ascot. That's obviously a good race. Let It Rain has won it. Wind Beneath My Wings obviously was an impressive winner of it last year. Looking at it, it's a half brother to Lump Sum for the stable. Looking through the stable's runners, they haven't had a bumper runner for the whole season so far. And the fact that they are looking at running Just for Dad straight into a listed bumper, I imagine he is fairly handy at home. 1:15 at Ascot on Saturday is the 2-mile 3 Howden handicap chase. I like Bad for this off top weight. They seem to want him to be a Cheltenham horse, but he's not a Cheltenham horse. He's better going right-handed at either Kempton or Ascot. Progressed from a mark of 125 up to 144. Ran well enough, not handling the track in my opinion, to finish 5th in the Paddy Power Gold Cup. I think Kempton and Ascot suit him much better. I think he can probably give weight away in that. And, in the Paddy Power Chase, the handicap at Leopardstown on the 27th, I've backed Back Me or Sack Me. He is currently 45 on the list. Now, there were 27 runners last year. Will Do was sent off favourite off a mark of 126. Back Me or Sack Me is rated 125, so it is going to be touch or go. He finished 7th in it last year as a 6-year-old, was beaten about 10 lengths off a mark of 128. He finished 2nd at the October meeting at Cheltenham in a race that's worked out well. 3-car Bragg won it that day, finished 2nd to Panic Attack in the Coral Gold Cup. On his next start is now rated £7 higher. Ho Jody Smoke was 3rd that day and has ran well in both the Paddy Power Gold Cup and the December Gold Cup since. The Short Go was 4th and again caught the eye in the December Gold Cup last time off a... No, it wasn't December Gold Cup. At that meeting last time off a £4 higher mark. Back Me or Sack Me, I think, is £1 higher. It's currently 14-1. Now, worked into that price, I think, is factored in the fact of whether he gets in the race, and it is going to be touch on go based on ratings, but he won't be a 14-1 shot if he gets in.
Okay, 14-1, yeah. With Bet365 for the Paddy Power handicap chase. You've all mentioned all the horses that are worth talking about. The horse I'm most excited about seeing at Christmas is Romeo Coolio. I think I've mentioned that a few times. Wendigo's a horse I'm also a huge fan of. I thought he did brilliantly to win at Newbury last time. As all the way up the home stretch, just kept saying, just stay in the fight, because he's a strong stayer. And now he's obviously going up to 3 miles at Kempton on. I'm not sure the track is going to suit him, but I'm hoping the distance might give him that chance in the Courtostan Novices Chase. And of course, I can't not mention Hollygrove Chacha, who wasn't declared last week, but at the time of recording was entered, as she is for a listed race at Exeter on Thursday. Now, if she does line up, I think she will win. So she's a horse I can't wait to when she runs next, especially against her own sex after running well behind Handstands and Resplendent Grey at Carlisle in that race on a comeback run. So if she does run on Thursday, that will be it for me. Okay, that's it for the moment. We've covered, I think, all we can, given what we have, what the evidence we have to hand for now. Now, before we get into our best bets of the Christmas period, just to let you know of a free-to-play 6 horses challenge. It's available every weekend with free spins on offer if you get 2 or 3 selections correct. Prize pools available for 5 and 4 correct predictions, as well as a jackpot for all 6, and T's and C's apply. So, our best bets of the Christmas period. And Steve, you are up first.
Okay. Just 2 races I was definitely having a bet in. When they turn out the best bets, I don't know, because the races we won't really see yet. But I will definitely be back in Mundo Man on Saturday, and I have to say I will save something on Hot Fuss, because I'd be so unbearable over Christmas with my family. I think for their sake, not for mine. I've got to have, in the hope that the horse is given a half intelligent ride. But Mundo Man, I think, has potentially thrown in.
Okay.
And I'll definitely, it's not a best bet, but I'll definitely be doing something on Shomanucci in the Welsh National.
Okay. All right. So Mondo Man, he's 11.
Mondo Man it would be my main.
He's 11-4 for the Ladbrokes Handicap Hurdle on Saturday at Ascot. Hot Fuss, 33-1. And Shomanucci, I think, was 12-1, wasn't he, for the Welsh National with Bet365? Yes, he is. Okay, Steve?
Shorter prices, I'm keen on Marshborough over Christmas. But for Saturday, I do like Victorino in the Silver Cup. I just think, looking at it, I don't think it's the strongest renewal of the race. Obviously, going for a hat-trick of wins in it, I don't think is badly handicapped off a mark of 146. Had a pipe opener. All of his best form has come at Ascot. And I thought the 9-2 that was available was fairly good for Victorino in the Silver Cup.
Okay, I like Victorino as well. I think he's got a great chance. The stable, as you say, emerging or on the cusp of hitting very top form. Willful in the handicap hurdle is another one that was on the list of horses, but the horse I'm going to end up choosing for my best bet of the Christmas period will be Dom of Mary in the Welsh National. I just feel that with a new stable, there's a little bit more unlocking the full potential of Dom of Mary. So that's the horse that I like for the Welsh National. He is 16-1 with Bet365 up against Steve's Shomanucci at 12-1 for the same race. That's it, Steve. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
What are your Christmas plans? Nice and quiet? I imagine you're entertaining socially all the way through Christmas. You're a big...
I didn't say my family, yeah. I've got a son who's been away for a few months, he's coming back, which would be great. And so, yeah, it'd be a family stuff. And got a significant birthday, which is being celebrated by my family as well. So there you
Congratulations.
go. Well, don't know about that, commiserations, I think. When you reach my side of life, it's not congratulations. Although well done getting this far, I guess.
Well, that's nowadays, absolutely. Yep. And what about you, Steve? What's the Christmas period have in store for you and your family?
In the studio for Racing TV on Saturday, covering Haydock, but definitely having one eye on Ascot at the same time. And then, just family stuff over Christmas Day, Boxing Day with a 7-year-old. It's that time where it's still a magical event.
Yes, and long may that last. I will be at Kempton on Boxing Day, and the lead up to that, I'll be looking through what's been declared and hoping that I'll be finding some winners somewhere along the way to pay for the extraordinarily expensive presents that people beg and ask and demand nowadays. I'm not a Grinch at all. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Racing Weekly, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Thanks to both Steves, Ryder and Mellish, for joining me on the show this week. Now, as always, if you like what you've heard or watched in this or any of our previous episodes, then leave us a kind review on Apple Podcasts or in the comments section on YouTube. We'll be back at the end of January. Gary O'Brien will be here to help us look ahead to the Dublin Racing Festival. Until then, enjoy the festive period and the best wishes for 2026. From Steve, myself and the Racing Weekly team, have a very Merry Christmas.